Overthinking drains more strength from a man than actual problems ever will. It exhausts your mind, weakens your confidence, steals your time, and traps you in a loop where nothing gets solved but everything feels urgent. Most men don't suffer because of what's happening, they suffer because of what their mind insists on imagining. The Stoics understood this long before the world became as loud, chaotic, and overstimulated as it is today. They saw overthinking not as a flaw, but as a habit of placing attention where it doesn't belong, of treating thoughts as facts, of giving energy to things outside your control. To a Stoic, overthinking is simply the mind rebelling against discipline. A mind without discipline becomes a battlefield where fear, doubt, and insecurity win without resistance. A mind with discipline becomes a tool, sharp, calm, and capable of cutting through chaos. Overthinking keeps you stuck because it convinces you that thinking more will magically produce clarity. But the Stoics knew the opposite. Clarity comes from separating reality from imagination. Most of what you fear isn't even real. It's potential pain, potential conflict, potential failure. The mind loves creating problems it then becomes terrified of. Your mind becomes your enemy the moment you stop governing it. The Stoics cured overthinking by mastering one fundamental principle: control what you can, and dismiss the rest. Not ignore, dismiss. Not suppress, release. Overthinking dies the moment you stop giving attention to things you cannot influence. But here's the deeper truth the Stoics understood: overthinking isn't a thinking problem. It's a control problem. The desire for certainty. The desire to avoid pain. The desire to predict outcomes. The desire to protect ego. The more you try to control life, the more your mind spirals. A Stoic regains control not by thinking more, but by thinking less, with intention. He eliminates mental noise. He reduces unnecessary input. He stops letting the imagination run wild without supervision. Overthinking also thrives when a man avoids action. Because when you don't act, your mind fills the silence with assumptions, fears, and hypothetical disasters. Action destroys overthinking because action replaces imagination with experience. There is nothing for the mind to invent once you confront reality directly. Another Stoic cure for overthinking is attention discipline. Most men let their mind wander wherever it wants. They entertain every doubt, every insecurity, every fear, every scenario. They treat every thought as worthy of analysis. A Stoic doesn't. He chooses which thoughts deserve attention and which don't. He understands that not every thought is true, not every feeling is meaningful, not every worry is legitimate. A wandering mind is a suffering mind. A directed mind is a powerful mind. Overthinking also comes from internal chaos, a lack of structure, purpose, or grounding. When a man doesn't know what he stands for or where he's going, his mind fills the void with mental noise. Direction silences doubt. Discipline silences fear. Identity silences insecurity. The Stoics knew that a man becomes mentally unstable the moment he stops anchoring himself in principles. Your mind drifts because you don't hold it. Your thoughts spiral because they aren't contained. Your fears multiply because nothing inside you pushes back. You cure overthinking by strengthening the part of you that governs the mind. Another cause of overthinking is rumination, replaying the same situation, conversation, mistake, or future scenario hoping the outcome will somehow change inside your head. But the Stoics saw rumination as emotional self-torture. You relive pain without purpose. You rehearse anxiety without action. You revisit insecurity without resolution. They believe that once you have learned the lesson from a situation, thinking about it again becomes poison. Overthinking is just the mind chewing on the same problem long after the flavor is gone. A Stoic cuts the cycle by asking a simple internal question: is this within my control? If the answer is no, the thought is dismissed. Not argued with. Dismissed. Because every moment spent thinking about what's outside your control is a moment stolen from the life you could actually influence. This is where Stoic detachment becomes powerful. Not emotional numbness, emotional clarity. The ability to step back and realize your thoughts are not commands. They are weather patterns. Temporary. Unreliable. Shaped by fear, exhaustion, environment, insecurity. You observe them, but you don't bow to them. A powerful Stoic practice is to separate yourself from your thoughts. Instead of saying I'm worried, you say the mind is producing worry. Instead of saying I'm overthinking, you say the mind is generating unnecessary scenarios. Instead of saying I'm overwhelmed, you say the mind is reacting. Language creates distance, and distance creates control. The more you identify with your thoughts, the more power they have over you. The more you observe them from a distance, the more powerless they become. This ability, to witness your mind without drowning in it, is the core of Stoic mental mastery. You also stop overthinking by grounding yourself in the present moment. Most overthinking is either fear of the future or regret about the past. But the Stoics saw the present as the only territory where a man actually lives. The past is gone. The future is imaginary. The present is the only place where action exists. And action cures overthinking faster than any amount of analysis. A Stoic grounds himself through breath, through awareness, through intentional stillness. He brings the mind back to the body, back to the moment, back to reality. Because overthinking can't survive in a mind focused on what's happening right now. It can only survive in a mind drifting into what-ifs, maybes, and assumptions. And the final Stoic cure for overthinking is self-trust. Men overthink when they don't trust their judgment, discipline, or capability. They seek certainty because they fear failure. They seek perfection because they fear being wrong. They seek reassurance because they fear making decisions alone. Overthinking fades when self-trust grows. When you know you can adapt. When you know you can handle consequences. When you know you can recover from mistakes. When you know you can correct the path instead of collapsing when it's imperfect. Self-trust is built through action, discipline, consistency, and keeping your word to yourself. Once you trust yourself, the mind stops spiraling, because it knows you'll be fine no matter what happens. The Stoics didn't stop overthinking by force. They stopped overthinking by mastery, mastery of attention, mastery of emotion, mastery of perception, mastery of identity. When you stop feeding the mind with fear, comparison, rumination, and chaos, what remains is clarity. And clarity is the end of overthinking. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. And that's the Stoic cure, not silencing your thoughts, but becoming the kind of man who is no longer ruled by them.